Okay, so we'll go to Google Earth here. And does anybody remember the name of the Elizabethville resident who laid out the Lycans Valley Railroad and also helped to design the horseshoe curve? John Paul, yes. All right, and as I had mentioned yesterday, now this has nothing to do with the horseshoe curve, but let me get down here. If you take a look, right here is Kratzer Hardware. He lived in this house right here. Okay, lived here. This was called Newton Hall. He designed it, the engineer behind it. Now, he didn't build it himself. At one time, this was also used as the insurance company, which is now up on the square there, Divell, Straub, and Troutman. Okay. Right here is Kratzer Hardware. That's your landmark, okay? And over here is the fire company. All right. So it's down on Main Street. What I had mentioned to you, which has nothing to do with the horseshoe curve, but just a little bit of a comment to make, over here is Franklin Hall. He designed that house too. And as I'd mentioned yesterday, his wife lived in this house. They were incompatible. So he actually built this house so his wife could live there. And as I had mentioned to you, that might sound mean, but from what I read, his wife was perfectly happy to not live with him either. Okay, so I think the feeling was mutual, is what I'm saying there.
So they live separate, but still married.
Yes.
Why?
You got me on that one.
Who cares?
He did.
Well, and you're welcome to your own thought there, of course. I'm just telling you the story. Okay. Okay, so now our next item of business, let's go out to the horseshoe curve, and I'll show you where this is. Up by Altoona. Okay, and here you can see it. Again, considered the 8th engineering marvel of the world. And John Paul right here in Elizabethville helped to design this. Very important, okay? And as we just mentioned, target of German spies during the war, German saboteurs as they were called, but bottom line is they were spies, okay? At the same time, let's do this.
So what were the point of the dams there? Were those natural there?
Well, there was natural water there, so they had to dam it up, to keep it from flooding through the railroad. Okay, when they put the railroad in, they had to build the dams as well. Yes. They do actually use one of them to generate electricity. Good question. Okay, we'll come back here to Millersburg now. First thing to mention, we have the Lycans Valley Railroad. Okay. Now, if you take a look here, and some of you are probably very familiar, there is a current railroad that comes right up through Millersburg. Okay. That one's still here. Goes the whole way up into New York State. The Lycans Valley Railroad pretty much came right up here through Lankerville and comes this way. And if you go up along the mountain, you can see the rail trail, which is still there. Your reference point would be the Wiccanisco Creek, which comes down through, and by the way, flows right into the Susquehanna River right here. But if you come up along here, you can kind of see it. When the leaves aren't on the trees, you can see it even better. But right here is the rail trail. This is where the railroad went, right up along the valley. Okay?
So for the sulfur ponds or Lycans, couldn't they make a settle point so they don't leak any sulfur at all?
I don't really know how you would because the water still comes in there. So eventually it's just going to overflow anyway. I mean, you can't stop the water. It's just not going to happen. Okay. Good question though, but I don't know that you can do much about it. Okay. The railroad comes up along here, actually right by the ball field here. Has anybody ever walked on that? You know what I'm talking about? Good. And you can walk the whole way up to past the middle elementary school.
They have teepees in
Yep, right along there. That's on the way to Loyalton, somewhere up in this area they are. I know I've seen them, I just don't know where exactly they are. Come up here, and right here it is. And remember, this is only the 4th railroad ever in the United States. So that tells you there's a lot of people with a lot of money here. Simon Gratz being the big one. Okay. Comes right up here, as I mentioned, Williamstown. And here you can even see it's called the rail trail, and it stops right here. Okay. Now, a couple of other things I want to mention. Let's go back down to Millersburg. Anybody remember another way oh, by the way, this railroad was not by locomotive. How did they transport the coal? Anybody remember? Mule and horses, yes. The railroad was there. They just pulled the rail cars. Okay. It would. But you know, let me explain this, something I didn't say. From Williamstown the whole way down to Millersburg, there's a 3% grade. Now think about surveying something that long and you're going to have a 3% grade on there. That's pretty impressive if you ask me. I have taken a saw and tried to cut a straight line on a board and it doesn't work. Now you're going to draw or make an entire railroad 3% drop. That's impressive. Okay. Try to level something off in your backyard. That's only 3% difference. Now you're going to go the whole way from Williamstown to Millersburg. I think that's very impressive. Okay, so we'll come down here. Now, the Wiconisco Creek for about 12 miles was actually part of what was called the Wiconisco Canal. All right, which actually, if you go down here to this Mile Park, all right, you can actually see it right here. Eventually, it's going to come out into the Susquehanna River. And it used to go the whole way down here to Clark's Ferry Bridge. Okay. And you probably are familiar with Clark's Ferry. That's the bridge that takes you over to Juniata, Duncannon, yep, Newport. All right, right here it is. It actually came this far. And then from here, they were either loaded back onto train cars or continued right down the Susquehanna River as far as Maryland. Okay. Some made it the whole way to the Chesapeake Bay. Okay. Exactly. Now, let me also show you this across the river from Millersburg. I want you to be aware of this mountain over here. That's Mount Patrick. Okay. And in addition, has anybody ever been to this campground over here by any chance on the other side of the river? Okay, you're familiar? Right here, if you look, you can actually see the sign. This was actually the Pennsylvania Canal, which is why this road is actually called Canal Street, and it comes down right through the trees here. And that was part of the Pennsylvania Canal. Right here, you can see it. Okay, so you got the Mile Park, where the railroad goes up along the valley. Okay, Mount Patrick over here. All right, do want you to be aware of that mountain. All right, right here. So Barry's over here, Mount Patrick here. Horseshoe Curve, John Paul. And I'm going to show you a story here. If you come down here to Millersburg, there was actually a mail pilot that was coming up through here. And I don't know if you've ever seen these power lines. I don't see them actually right on here. And he actually got caught in these power lines. All right. And we're going to take a look at that story, but I'll mention that now also. Okay. So again, Mayo, Wiccanisco Canal, and the Lycans Valley Railroad. Very important to, of course, the coal production and the coal mines. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of pictures here.